Okay, we're going to get started. Everybody is muted, so we'll do Q&A at the end after we pause the recording. So if you want to silence your cell phones, that would be great. So I'm going to do that, and do not disturb is on. All right, so welcome and thank you for being here. I know that your time is valuable, and the fact that you showed up tells me that you're searching for ways to heal the body. I'm Dr. Drmichelle, and I've spent years working with men and women who feel exactly like that as well. Exhausted, maybe frustrated, a little skeptical, because you tried lots of things and maybe still searching for some answers. So congratulations on being the kind of person who doesn't just scroll through social media, who keeps searching. You actually took a step today. That's big. And you may be someone who's been told in the past that your labs look normal, but you don't feel normal. You're tired of being tired. Maybe you wake up exhausted after 8 hours of sleep. Maybe your brain feels foggy, or maybe there's underlying anxiety that we can't quite shake, right? If that sounds familiar, if you're just looking to learn more about holistic health, you are in the right place, because today I want to go beyond surface symptoms to uncover what's really happening on the cellular level. So let's dive in. So I've been there sitting in a doctor's office being told that my labs look normal, that I just need to relax, that I'm overly stressed. And it made me feel kind of invalidated and a little bit crazy, because I knew I had all of these symptoms, and it didn't make sense to me that I just needed to and not be stressed. And I I hated that the most. And they said, just don't stress out. Just relax. And I felt like I wasn't stressed out, but it's not an easy thing to do, to tell somebody that. So I get it. So if your body is sending you signals like fatigue, brain fog, sleep issues, feeling like you're running on empty, this is really a cellular SOS. So today we're going to talk about the messages that your body is trying to share. And I'm going to go through sort of a blueprint of what is causing those disruptions and how you can get to the root of that and what you can do at the end. And then by the end of our time together, you'll understand not just what's happening in your body, but exactly kind of the steps you need to do to move forward to get answers. So it's not about more supplement. It's not about managing symptoms. It really is about, getting cellular restoration. And what does that mean? Cells, getting back to that. Well, we're going to dive into that. So today, I want to share with you that this is mostly educational. Of course, if you'd like to work with me, that would be wonderful, and I'd be happy to help you. But the goal of this is to give you the information, to give you actionable insights, and then you can choose what you'd like to do. So we're going to talk about what's possible when you remove barriers that are silently working against your body. And we're also going to talk about understanding deeper what's happening on a deeper level. So why you wake up more tired than when you went to bed, feeling like you're running on empty, feeling like your battery is at maybe 10%, and that's not your fault, and it's not permanent, and your body's not broken. And it's not just age. I hate that one too. Oh, it's just part of the aging process. Yes, some things are biologically part of the aging process, but that gets blamed a lot for many things. So there's a lot of things going on that clog your cellular machinery, right? So toxins can clog it, nutrient deficiencies, those are all starving your energy factories, and hidden stressors that may be keeping your cells in what I call survival mode. So there is a path forward. And by the end of this workshop, you're going to understand what that is. So some bonuses for those of you who are here with me live. I'll be sending each of you an endocrine disruptor guide. Endocrine disruptor is a big word that means hormones. What's disrupting your hormones? So that's an important one that you're going to want to look through. It's all my favorite health and wellness, beauty care products, all of that is free from toxins. So, and then an at-home inflammation test kit, so that you can just test yourself at home and instantly see where your markers for inflammation are. So why am I here? I am a naturopath. And that's not just a fancy take on the word natural or naturopath. A naturopath, a doctor, I have my doctorate in traditional naturopathy. And that means that I focused on healing the body from a more natural, holistic perspective instead of a pharmaceutical perspective. So I've helped hundreds and hundreds of people in my practice. And I put this together because I was seeing a consistent pattern. Everybody's health story was a little bit different. Everybody needed different things to get to their goals, but there were basic proponents of health that were really at the core that everybody could benefit from. So that's what a naturopath does is we're looking for root causes of the issue. Why is there fatigue? Well, it's not because you're just getting older and that's normal. Why is there brain fog? Also not because you're getting older. Those things are not normal. So very personal for me, how I began on this journey. At 20, I was dealing with IBS, rectal bleeding, chronic stress. I went for an endoscopy, hoping to get some answers, but instead I was just told to, relax. You're just too stressed out. It was incredibly frustrating. I knew something was wrong, but I was really being dismissed. But back then I did a lot of things, drinking. I was in college and I wasn't focused on my health. I wasn't focused on what I was eating, dear Lord, I don't even want to think about it. So, but everything changed when I got older and became a mother and I started to take care of my own children. And so when my daughter was 2, I followed traditional medical advice and I was stopped breastfeeding her. I put her on full fat milk. And within a week, my healthy, robust little girl developed a cough, which turned into bronchitis. And then we were doing nebulizer treatments and going to the ER because she couldn't breathe at night. And that pediatrician told me that she would have asthma for life and that I needed to learn to deal with it. And I walked out of that office and I never went back because something inside of me just knew there's more here. There's more, there's nutrition. Something here is the key. And it goes on. I helped my husband deal with his IBS. I helped my other daughter clear her skin of eczema when she was a baby from toxins that she had in her body. So I started to do that. I started to help my parents and friends and neighbors, and I sort of became known for that. And then I decided, well, I know how to get people, how to help people. And it feels like this is what God is calling me to do. So I went back to school to get my doctorate in traditional naturopathy. And I never looked back. It was a pivotal moment for me when I took control of my own health. And I just wanted people to get the education to do it for themselves, address the root cause. And once I did that, I was able to turn things around for my daughter, for myself, for my husband. And so what's needed is a deeper understanding of why there's sickness and disease in the first place. So yeah, that's when I decided to pursue my doctorate. So why are labs normal and then we feel terrible? Well, traditional panels may miss key markers that holistic practitioners consider really important. Advanced thyroid panel. So TSH is not the end all be all of what's happening in your thyroid. That's just thyroid stimulating hormone coming from your pituitary, but it's not really the only number that's important. We need reverse T3, thyroid antibodies. We need to know what the whole picture of your thyroid is happening. Comprehensive nutrient assessments like B vitamins and micronutrient assessments to get all the B vitamins, all the Ds, all to see where you're missing. And then food sensitivity, heavy metals, environmental toxins, hormone testing. My mother never had her hormones tested. She was from that generation where she was told that estrogen would cause cancer, which we now know is a fallacy. That's not true. And it's a huge disservice to what was done of women of that generation, because we now know that having estrogen in the body really helps with bone density. It really helps with brain fog. It really helps with fatigue. So it also now new evidence is coming out in new case studies that show that it reduces your risk of cardiovascular disease, which is one of the biggest things that was killing women. So root cause versus symptom focus. So symptoms stem from interconnected imbalances. The gut affects the mood, nutrient deficiencies cause fatigue, chronic low-grade inflammation can cause problems all over. So chronic stress, environmental toxins, we're going to dig into all of that. But first, I wanted to share with you a case study. This is Pete, and he's been in my practice for 6 months, and he came to me with stage 4 chronic kidney disease. He was going to need a kidney transplant. So you can't get much worse from a cellular position than needing to get a new organ. So one of the first things I did for Pete was I found that his body was full of mold, environmental toxins, and heavy metals. I have run these labs quite a bit on most of my patients, and I had not seen one quite so bad. He did not come to me for vitiligo. Like this, he didn't really care about it, but you can see the skin is a reflection of what's going on inside the body. So on the left, you see kind of what he started out when he was with me, and on the right, that's 6 months. And so it's like, oh, well, I guess that's great. His skin looks better, but what does that mean? Well, if you know the skin is a reflection of what's going on inside the body. So the kidneys are this master regulator of inflammatory cytokines and metabolic waste. And so when you restore drainage pathways, lymphatic, hepatic, renal, you can see downstream effects on the skin. This is like your third kidney, as Hippocrates would say. So vitiligo spontaneously resolving is medically documented, but very uncommon. However, in integrative circles, we often see pigmentation return because we've detoxed heavy metals, we've done mold remediation, and we've cleared mycotoxins, we've done parasite cleansing. So we really unblocked with Pete the regenerative potential. And this is just a reflection. His labs also reflect what's going on here. And we know that Pete's doing great. He just went, he's 68 years old, and he's biking 3 miles every day and having great energy. And Pete knew that he was going to either have to choose this route of doing things holistically, or he was going to be in the medical machinery and needing a transplant. So this is kind of how it works with the phases of, first we detox the body from, first we test, right? We test and we see what's going on. And then we start detoxing the body from parasites, heavy metals, environmental toxins, dysbiosis, meaning like imbalanced bacteria in the gut. And then we replenish the nutrients that fuel your cells. So this phase nourishes the microbiome, which means your gut, targeted probiotics, and creating an environment where beneficial flora are going to grow. And then in the next phase, we focus on shifting to the brain, one of the most difficult areas to detox, but we remove accumulated heavy metals, chronic inflammation, plaque, and other toxins that hinder cognitive function and neurological health. So that's how we worked with, and how we continue to work with Pete to improve his health. A couple of others that I'll share with you it's not just men, women too in my practice. I work with teachers who couldn't focus in their classrooms. Now, Kathy came to me. Kathy's story is really, she was almost in tears because she was barely sleeping at night. And within 2 months of cellular healing, she was sleeping through the night. She had energy to spare. And same with Maria. She had lots of metabolic imbalance, but mainly she was feeling tired, bloated, and having mood swings. And the doctors wanted to put her on antidepressants, which is really common as like the first, you go to the gynecologist and you say, I just don't feel like myself. And they say, okay, well, life is hard. Let's put you on antidepressants. And I am not knocking antidepressants because it's a needed medication for some people, but it is a disservice to not look deeper as to why mood is being affected when we already know from the evidence that gut health affects the neurotransmitters to your brain that support mood and cognition. So you want to stop masking symptoms and you want to go to the root. So you've got your pen and paper. This is the time to pull it out because we're going to dig into what's happening in the cells. So what is a cell? I know, back to 11th grade chemistry and science. So think of your body as a city of Naples, and every organ is a district, and every tissue is a neighborhood, and every cell in that neighborhood is a house. That's a building. So So you picture your whole body is Naples, Fort Myers, Estero, Bonita Springs, wherever you live. And then you picture your different organ systems as districts in that area, and then your cells as your house. You have 37 trillion cells, and each one is a living dynamic structure. It's not just a blob or a nucleus like I'm showing on the picture. It's very important. The outer wall of the cell membrane is like a security gate. It lets nutrients in and it keeps threats out and sends messages to the rest of the body. So understanding cellular function is like understanding how your body is actually working. This is where it all starts. So think of the cells, round, pretty cell, and try to imagine that on the outside of the cell, there's all of these doors to get into your house, right? This is the cell, this is the house. And we got the guard gate around it too. So we got a guard gate, and then we got all these doors. Now remember that when I talk about doors to the cell. So let's talk energy. We're going to go back to the cell, but it's really important. So energy is fuel. The fuel for your cells, how it gets its energy, is called ATP, adenosine triphosphate. Don't worry about the word, doesn't matter. Just think of it as your universal energy currency of the body. So I would say, if you live in Southwest Florida and Florida Power and Light is think of this as Florida Power and Light. That's ATP for your cell in your house. Every heartbeat, every breath, every brain signal, every hormone release requires ATP. And without it, your body is like a phone on 1% battery, or it's like you were in the middle of a hurricane, we've got no power, right? The average body produces 70 pounds of ATP per day, but we don't store it. We must constantly burn through it and use it. So if production slows, energy drops, and symptoms start. So ATP is really, really important. Different cells have different jobs. So you've got brain cells that transmit thought, and we've got my liver cells that detoxify cells that protect you. And each one has a different number of mitochondria depending on how energy hungry they are. For example, neurons and muscle cells. So these ones, neurons and muscle cells, these are the most these ones use the most energy. They're constantly active, even when you're sleeping. So if your mitochondria are underperforming, the most energy demanding systems, which brain and body, physical muscles, are going to drop in their power first. So your brain, your muscles, your hormones. That's why mitochondrial dysfunction, cellular dysfunction, shows up as fatigue, brain fog, mood swings, and hormone imbalances. These are really like feedback to tell you like something is wrong. Hey, I'm really tired. Hey, I can't remember where I put things anymore. Hey, I'm kind of moody. These are all just feedback that the body is trying to communicate to you to do something. So how do your cells communicate? They're not just sitting there. They talk to each other. And they do this with chemical messengers like hormones, neurotransmitters, and cytokines. Think of the messengers as the key. Remember I said your cell has all these doors all the way around your house, right? If the lock fits the key, the cell gets the instruction like make energy, reduce inflammation, release insulin. The cell signaling is how the body stays in balance. But when the receptors on the outside of the cell, those doors, are damaged, blocked, desensitized, those signals get lost. And it's like trying to unlock a door with a bent key. We can't get the signal in. So what are the causes of poor cellular communication? Because poor cellular communication is really at the root of the dysfunction. So imagine that you're trying to call somebody or run a business and you have no email, you have no phones. That's what's happening when inflammation damages the receptors, those doors on your cell, or toxins block hormone signaling, or nutrient deficiencies prevent the enzyme activation that's needed. So signals get misread or ignored. For example, insulin resistance is when cells stop responding to insulin. So the insulin is there. The insulin is there. It's trying to get the lock and the key to give it to the cell. But the hormone is there, but the message isn't being delivered. And that's what causes insulin resistance, right? There's a metabolic resistance. There's all kinds of things that are happening in the body. So that's what leads to symptoms like fatigue, weight gain, and blood sugar issues for people who have insulin resistance, who then move on to, diabetes, which is one of the biggest things that's going on right now in our health. So I'm going to name these off for you. One is missing, but it's super important. Chronic stress, environmental toxins, got poor sleep, blood sugar instability, nutrient deficiencies. My fifth one is really a cause and effect one, is inflammation. So inflammation is both because of cellular miscommunication and also it creates more of that. So it's both the cause and the effect. You also get more inflammation when there's poor cellular communication. So I'm going to dig into these a little bit deeper. Let's talk chronic stress. So stress isn't just a feeling, it's actually a biochemical event. Chronic stress will activate your sympathetic nervous system, your fight or flight mode, and then your body gets flooded with cortisol, adrenaline, which increases your energy demand and inflammation. Right now, I'm talking to you, I'm recording myself, and so my cortisol is higher, right? When I'm done, it'll kind of calm down. So that is the great curve of cortisol. It should come up, and then it should go down. And that's how our bodies are meant to function. What happens with some of us is it goes up and it never really comes down. So over time, that stress rewires your brain and it weakens your immune system and depletes your energy on a cellular level. If any woman has ever been very, very stressed and then it's affected their menstrual cycle, I'll raise my hand for that one. That is a perfect example of how stress makes for poor cellular communication. Hypothalamus, pituitary, the brain is sending the signals for you, but it's not getting to where it needs to go. Why? Because energy is being diverted to cortisol production, right? We got all this energy diverted here. The body says, well, she doesn't need to worry about, having babies or having a regular menstrual cycle. We don't need to worry about those silly hormones. We have to get her to run away from this bear, which could be your work or what's going on in your family life or anything that you might be going through, any losses in your life. So what you can do today is you can start to practice exercises that help stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system and will help lower cortisol levels. So 5 minutes of breath work or deep belly breathing, being outside for 10 minutes in natural sunlight exposure. And I like to do this with my bare feet in the ground. That natural light and the green space helps to regulate your circadian rhythm and helps calm your nervous system. Probably do that after this. Or you could try a nervous system reset. This is my favorite, where you lay on the ground with your feet up the wall. This will actually promote circulation and parasympathetic activation. So this activates that nervous system into the rest and digest mode, counteracting the overaction of the sympathetic nervous fight or flight mode. So this shift helps downregulate cortisol production. So we get cortisol production to come down from the adrenals. And remember, cortisol is a very chief hormone. If it's high, all the other hormones suffer. So number 2 is environmental toxins. So we live in a toxic world: plastics, pesticides, heavy metals, skincare chemicals. These are all making for damage to your cells and to your body. So toxins create oxidative stress. So oxidation, when you think of that, you think of like rust and something getting old. Oxidation happens inside of the body cells too. And we know this because you have a lot of products called antioxidants, right? Anti-aging, right? So we're trying to help the cells from having oxidation, from really rusting out, we'll call it. And so mold, pesticides, plastics, heavy metals, all of those clog the detox pathways and interfere with hormone disruptors. For example, remember our beautiful cell with our doors. If we're trying to get in estrogen, which I also already said was a really important for women, BPA found in plastic water bottles, found in lots of plastic, any kind of plastics, it's really found in all plastics, and some skincare products as well. You can see it in the labeling and all of that. Receipts have it as well. Your body, from a chemical perspective, gets confused with plastic when it enters the body. So if you've got a hot water bottle in the car, right, some of those microplastics are going to get in that water, and then you're going to drink that water and you're going to get BPA in the body. And you say, no big deal, I'll just go to the bathroom and out it'll come. Not really. What happens is it knocks on the door and the cell says, oh, this is estrogen. Let's open up the door. So the lock and the key work for BPA. And so it blocks the estrogen, that's the real estrogen coming from the body. And so then we have all kinds of problems when we have lower estrogen. And that's why toxins can contribute to fatigue, infertility, mood swings, and autoimmune symptoms. So you may not feel it today, but the cellular toll is cumulative. So swap plastics out, plastic water bottles out, ventilate better in your house, reading the skincare labels. That's why that endocrine disruptor or hormone disruptor guide will be really helpful to avoid phthalates and fragrances. Please, if I can get you to just do one thing today from this, please, 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 no more Glade Febreze plugins. You are literally breathing oxidation into your cells and causing severe damage. So when I test my patients' hormones, we also test their toxic load so we can see what's going on. Here's another case study from my patient T. So here on the left side, you'll see the toxin testing. So these are all environmental toxins, and these that you see here are all mold. And you can see 5 types of mold that are high and a couple that are moderately high, and 2 environmental toxins, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 environmental toxins that are in the suboptimal level, right? They're high. When you look at T's hormone output, look, we see BPA is moderately high. We see she's got all this mold. And now look, estrogen is low. The T is 44. This is early for having a full drop like this in for perimenopause. You know, we know that it's going to drop, but this is too low. Progesterone is low. Testosterone is almost non-existent. So all the hormones are being affected and blocked by all of these toxins. So this toxic burden directly interferes with this delicate hormonal balance, right? Nutrient deficiencies. So your cells need raw materials to function, right? So magnesium, B vitamins, zinc, omegas, antioxidants, even small deficiencies in these can lead to poor energy production. Remember ATP, sluggish detox. And thanks to depleted soil, processed food, stress, and the other toxins that we talked about, nutrient deficiencies are very common. This is, you know, like trying to build a house without the right ingredients, right? Without the right tools. So adding leafy greens or spinach, arugula, or kale into one meal, these are packed with folate, magnesium, and antioxidants. You want to make sure that you've washed it well, that you're eating organic, so that you're not picking up any new toxins on the way to adding these in. You can sprinkle your water with mineral-rich sea salt, which is much better for you. Himalayan peak sea salt is great. Celtic sea salt is great. Eating nuts that boosts your magnesium and zinc, and it's helpful for enzyme activity of those minerals. Adding nutrient-dense greens powder like AG1, or for my women, Mighty Maca. Broccoli sprouts, I love this. This is really easy. You can get this pretty much anywhere. And if you add broccoli sprouts, just a small amount of broccoli sprouts is so much more nutrient dense than if you ate and sat down and ate a whole bowl of broccoli. Not to mention you avoid any of the digestive issues that might come from broccoli. So yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of broccoli, even though it's good for you. So sleep isn't just rest, it's recovery and repair. So during sleep, your brain detoxes, your cells repair, your mitochondria rest. So, you know, a poor night's sleep isn't just like, oh, I had one night's bad sleep. There could be stress involved, of course. But if you wake up tired, there's a cellular issue at play, and it's not just a bad night. So using red light, if anybody's heard of red light therapy in the evening, red spectrum light does not suppress melatonin the way that blue or white light does that comes from your phones or from your TV. Magnesium glycinate, that's great before bed because it supports relaxation and increases GABA, which makes you feel good and makes you feel nice and tired, and it decreases your nighttime cortisol. Doing a practice of a body scan or no yoga nidra meditation really can help. I have lots of patients who are like, I don't like meditation. No big deal. If you just do a body scan and try to relax different parts of your body as you move down, you'll see that you're going to have a better night's sleep because you have lowered your cortisol. So the next one is blood sugar instability. So this is really important. Blood sugar imbalance is one of the fastest ways that you can disrupt cellular health. And actually on labs, we do see this more often as higher glucose or higher hemoglobin A1C. So spikes can cause inflammation, and then crashes deprive the cells of fuel. So you want, again, like cortisol, you're eating and you want to see the glucose rise as you eat and then come down like a curve. You don't want it to rise. Like if you had a McDonald's burger and Coke and fries, it would rise and stay really high for a long time, and then come down and then crash. So over time, this can lead to, like I said, insulin resistance. I mentioned that before, which affects ATP energy production, hormones, hormone balance, weight gain. So your cells, mitochondria inside the cell, that needs a steady fuel source. So the more stable your blood sugar, the more stable your cellular output. So if you can start your day with protein, aim for 23 grams, and then try to get at least a gram for every pound that you weigh if you're in a healthy weight. You have to really work on fine tuning that if there's weight loss to be had. But protein helps stabilize your blood sugar and reduces mid-morning crashes. So some people I know love to fast, so they have coffee in the morning. Okay, I have a solution for you. If you put a non-flavored collagen protein powder in it, you will have helped yourself quite a bit in that. You won't taste it, and you're getting protein, and you're not just throwing coffee down. And to boot, you'll have collagen, which helps with anti-aging as well, and it helps with your gut. So walking 10 minutes after meals, this is documented, case study after case study. If you go for a walk after you eat, which I like to walk my dog right after I eat, he eats, we eat, and then we walk. And that simple habit improves your insulin and your metabolic health. And then avoid eating carbs alone. So pair them with protein or fat to reduce these spikes. So balanced meals, that's what's going to prevent inflammation. So my last one is inflammation. This is a biggie because it's both cause and effect. So inflammation is your body's emergency response system. You cut yourself, and then in that cut, maybe you'll see some blood or some pus begin to form, and that's and maybe it gets puffy. And that is your body trying to help you heal. So it sends helpers, white blood cells, red blood cells, to help you heal. Chronic inflammation is like a fire alarm that won't shut off. It demands lots of energy from the mitochondria of those cells. So it disrupts hormone signaling, it triggers autoimmunity. So the root is cellular injury from stress, from toxins, from infections, from nutrient deficiencies, right? But it's creating inflammation. Inflammation is both the cause and the symptom of cellular dysfunction. That's why addressing inflammation is key, and getting your inflammation down is key to restoring energy and balance. So what I would do is I would incorporate omega-3 rich foods daily, flax seeds, wild salmon, walnuts, or you can take an omega supplement that has DHA in it as well. So omega-3s help calm the fire on the cellular level. Turmeric and ginger, these are great. Curcumin from turmeric and gingerol from ginger. These are powerful natural anti-inflammatories that help block NF and KB proteins that are involved in this inflammatory process. And then getting 20 minutes of low impact movement, walking, yoga. So you can see it's helpful for a lot of things to get some movement. So gentle movement, like rebounding, is wonderful for you. It's a great thing to do. And it's basically like bouncing on a small little trampoline. And it helps the lymphatic system. So it helps with detoxification. So by now you should know the symptoms of cellular dysfunction, right? Tired despite rest, foggy even after caffeine, anxious without a trigger, bloated despite eating clean, hormonal even with normal labs. So this doesn't mean that you're broken. This means, as you can tell from everything that I've shared, that there's an issue on the cellular level that needs to get cleaned up, right? So let me put together for you a cellular cleaning up, cellular transformation roadmap for you. So what we've just talked about may have sparked some light bulbs for you and maybe sort of a sense of relief that like, okay, there's a framework for why this is going on. So we really only scratched the very, very surface of this, but learning it is really powerful. So that's why I put this program together, because I had seen this for so many of my patients, that were struggling, needed this deeper look into what was going on in their labs, and also needed this detoxification of what was all the toxins that were in the body that needed to come out. So understand your body's unique imbalances. That's where lab work comes in. Support your mitochondria and restore that ATP, that energy, reduce inflammation, recalibrate your stress response, balance your hormones naturally, and then clear the brain fog. So that's really the step. Understand your unique imbalances, lab test, don't guess. Support your mitochondria. This means detoxification and giving the nutrients that you need, reducing inflammation, balancing your hormones. And that's really how you can get to better health. So this is how it works. We're gonna take Q&A, so I'll see the questions in the Q&A, but this is how it works this is the roadmap that can work for you. Now, how it works in my office, I'll take a few minutes now to show you how it works in my office. So in my office, first, we do a 45-minute consult. So this is where we'll dive deep into your health history, and then we'll look and see what are the issues that are happening and what labs do we need to order for that. Then you'll come back after we've ordered the labs and we'll do a review of findings appointment. And that's about 90 minutes. And this is where we would go really, really deep into what's going on in your body. And then we create a plan that shows how we get from point A to point B. Then after that, we look at getting you set up with consistent appointments into the program, start detoxification, and that comes with appointments with me, appointments with my coaching team, education with a video library of things that we put together that are very important for you to learn, that will help you along the way, recipes, meal guidance, all of that, and then consistent support between appointments. So you can take everything that I've said to you, kind of get that understanding, and just go from there. Like you may be a person that doesn't need the guidance and moving along, and that is wonderful. So take what I've provided here for you of that blueprint of looking into what are the root causes, looking at those main 6 root causes of dysfunction on the cellular level, and then work your way through each of them. And that's a great way to do it. If you're somebody that needs more support and you'd like to work with me, everybody who came to this webinar, this is an offer just for my webinar participants, because this saves me a lot of time in appointments explaining all of this. And so if you came to the webinar, I'd like to gift that to you, that you're helping me because you already have an understanding of what we're doing in the program. So if you secure your consult today after this webinar, you can do that we'll send you a link after this. Then I've got 5 spots this month. I can only take on a few patients per month so that I can provide individualized care, because it's not one size fits all for anybody. So if you're interested in that, anybody who came to this webinar, watch this webinar, is going to get that offer. And also, as promised, you'll also get a free inflammation test kit, which we will send out to you the day that you get signed up, and you'll have it in a couple of days. And you can test your inflammation levels before we see you for your initial consult. So I'm going to leave you with this last transformation story of Laura. She came to me at 41, struggling with fatigue and brain fog. And after 6 months, obviously we got energy return, headaches disappeared, digestion improved, and her menstrual cycle normalized. And that happens to me with so many patients. We're working on one issue, right? I'm tired. But then we see that all these other issues start to clear up. She didn't expect that her headaches would disappear. She didn't expect that her digestion would improve. She didn't expect that her menstrual cycle would improve. That really isn't what she came for me for. But that's what happens when your cells come back to life. So if you are ready for the next step, or if you're interested in that, you can click the link to book the session and we can do this together. You don't keep guessing. Or Googling it alone, right? You deserve a roadmap and a body that works for you, not against you. So I'm here to help you find your way back to a healthy you. So now is the portion that I'm going to stop recording so that we can take Q&A, and all of you can feel very comfortable to ask any questions, knowing that we are not recording. Hang on one second, everyone.